Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. Why are some residents asking Oxford School Board President to resign? And find out why the Village Council is talking trash.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. As of the last school board meeting, Interim Superintendent Tim Throne has officially relieved Dr. Skilling of his duties as Superintendent of Oxford Public Schools. In addition, the board rescinded an April 22nd motion approving a temporary contract that would have allowed Skilling to work until the end of August as a consultant, with little assistance allowed from Skilling. Throne is facing a number of upcoming problems to solve, such as budget issues, such as covering $700,000 shortfall, and where to find the money to cover the teachers' raises promised by the board last August. Also lurking are building repairs delayed by more pressing projects deemed more important at the time. Throne believes these and other issues can be addressed and is confident that the 2016 budget will be in the black.
At a recent board meeting, several residents called for the resignation of the school board president, Jim Reese. The group of concerned citizens and a group calling their organization Team 20 cited a number of accusations against the board, alleging they violated the Public Meetings Act, concealed letters, and information from the public that indicated misuse of public funds surrounding the Wei Ming Project dormitory and Dr. Skilling's involvement. A resident pointed out that the President Reese seemed to represent the school board when he stood before the Township Planning Commission asking Callie Rosner Myers to recuse herself from voting on Wei Ming issues because of her association with the Team 20 group and its opposition to the project. The request was not acted upon by the board.
Of resignation by Fred Schubach, the Oxford Schools Finance Comptroller revealed concerns with school finance issues run deep. Schubach felt school funds were misused and school board gave their nod of approval. In the letter Schubach cited, questioned the legal validity of payment approval for transportation of an out-of-district homeless student. However, the bill was approved by the board. He further contends the board approved payment of excessive cell phone roaming charges gained during one of Dr. Skilling's trips to China, charges which were not the district's responsibility to pay. Another allegation of concern by Schubach were charges and payment of several flights to China in which the community was told that it was paid by Wei Ming Institute.
By a unanimous vote, the Oxford Village Council approved the sale of 98 Gillespie property purchased by the village over 10 years ago for $700,000. Developer Chuck Schneider's the final offer was to purchase that property for $225,000, considerably less than what the village residents paid for 10 years ago. While the property, which sits at the headwaters of the village well systems, has long been on the losing balance sheet of bad investments, Schneider is looking to transform the eyesore into what he calls a $1 million gem, and jovially agreed to accept the property as is, stating he plans to demolish the existing building on the site, which plans call for construction of a multiplex development. The final go-ahead would be given by the Village Council after the village attorney nods his approval.
And who will be your next rubbish collection servicer? Several operating bids were presented to Council. However, Village Attorney Bob Davis believes the bids should include a performance bond and an unprecedented 1,100 free 65-gallon totes for recyclables. Among companies who have already provided bid prices now available to the public is a locally owned company called Odd Jobs, a national company, Rizzo, the current hauling company, and Advanced. During last month's Village Council meeting, the award was postponed for decision because only 3 of the 5 members were present. The 3 members present believed all members should be part of the final decision. During this month's meeting, however, Village Manager Joe Young informed council the residential bids were non-solicited, but presented to council anyway. Therefore, council needs to formally request those bids. Davis then advised council those bidders should be resubmit with additional requirements for both commercial and residential trash collection bids. Davis then suggested council should include 1,100 free 65-gallon barrels and that the village should discontinue billing residents for garbage. That the winning bidder should also provide that service along with a performance bond, none of which are in the current waste hauler contract.
A local man lawyered up after police tracked him down at his Oxford home. Police were led to his home following up on a hit-and-run accident where the witnesses saw a tan van slam into a car turning onto Newman Road. Witnesses say they saw a man driving the van and then deserted his vehicle on the side of the road after the accident and disappeared in a Jeep. Oakland County deputies traced the plates on the man's current address. Officers went to the home, but the man refused to talk under advice from his attorney. While the injured accident victim could not pick the man from a lineup, several eyewitnesses positively identified the van driver who fled the accident, and charges have been filed.
What mother would ever want their child to lead a life of crime? Well, a mother and her son were arrested outside the Oxford Meijer store for concealing retail items in their clothing and walking out without paying. The two were caught during the act on surveillance cameras. If this was the mother's first criminal lesson, it didn't fare well. Both were cited for retail fraud, 3rd degree.
Now hear this. Please lock your cars at night. Whether they're on the side of the road or in your driveway, lock your car doors. Another Oxford Township resident fell victim to sticky fingers when she parked her car on Dunlap Road. When she returned to her car, she had found someone had taken her cash, a purse, credit cards, and driver's license from the unlocked car. The case is still under investigation.
An Oxford woman reported that while at a fitness club in Rochester, someone stole her vehicle's license plate. She drove the vehicle back to Oxford and called 911 to report the theft. Police recorded the woman's license plate and auto VIN numbers into their computer list of stolen plates. Well, you got to watch everything, Terry.
I'm telling you what, I just can't even understand. I am just as bad. Every now and again I'll get out of my car without locking it, but why is it that people feel so free to leave their purse and everything else in the car and walk away from it?
Well, now it's plates. Next it'll be tires and wheels.
No, I'm telling you, we all maybe should be riding a bus, but
Right.
you know, and some people's kids, I have to say it's all about ethics and what you teach your children, I guess.
That's true.
I know it's kids' pranks. A couple years ago in the village of Oxford, my son's car was stolen right out of our driveway. And I think
Wow.
it was just kids. 2 years later, it was found in Wyoming, Grand Valley area,
Oh.
Wyoming, Michigan.
Okay.
They figure it was just college kids that were walking by our house and jumped in his car and
Make sure you lock your cars. Anyway, I want to just mention, scrape the frost off your windows and just believe that spring is here, right?
I know. The only thing that tells me spring is here is there's flowers on the trees. Right now it's awfully chilly. I actually had ice on my bird bath.
Oh, well, speaking of birds, we have a wreath that my wife has on the house, and Mother Robin decided to build a little nest there. Well,
Yeah,
while we were
they'll do
cleaning up
that.
around the yard, my wife said, well, maybe we should take that nest out. And she goes up to it and she says, oh, there's little blue eggs in there. I guess I won't touch it now.
Nope.
So
Leave 'em alone.
now, recently, the other day, she called me out and she says, look at this. And it's 3 little baby birds and they're all looking for
No
food.
mouth open.
So
Very
cute. So
sweet.
spring is here,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
They're reminding you of that. And if you want to know what to do with any of those critters that might have ended up in your yard, the baby birds often fall out of their nests. We've had squirrels fall out of their nests. Holly Haddock is from Oxford. She is a wild animal rescuer. While she doesn't rescue small things like baby birds, I think raccoons is the smallest she'll go. She has been here at the studio on our community access. So if you want to see what she has to say about helping out the spring babies, go to our website, occtv.org, and then click on our program schedules and find, I think it was called Wildlife, Our Community Access Wildlife. And she's got some great things to say. I think we should just rerun that, because right now is the time that you run into all kinds of little baby critters. And I want to mention, don't run over turtles on the side of the road. Good Lord. And Hemel, I see dead ones already way on the side of the road. It's a game that kids play.
They can't run fast. Did you ever notice that?
And so they're certainly not going to run out in front of your tire. This game that kids play, trying to spin these turtles around.
Last year, one of my little grandsons, there was a large turtle crossing the road, and he had me stop the car so we could get out and move the turtle in a safe area.
And you moved it to the direction it's going,
I did.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make him work twice as hard. Put him on the other side.
You don't want him to turn around and go back across the road.
Right,
Anyhow,
absolutely.
That's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper at your local store. Or better yet, catch us right here on Charter Channel 191 and AT&T Channel 99.
Coming up next on OCTV, tune in for Oxford Local Sports, then catch Oxford School News with John Ochins. Also, join Dave Kenny with Auto Talk and Science in the News.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where your news is always closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, the bad boy of global weather is on its way. El Nino can cause floods, droughts, fires, and epidemics around the world, and the next one could be a humdinger. El Nino crashes onto the scene once every 4 years or so as hot water emerges in the Pacific and moves towards the Americas. This can bring drought to Australia and parts of Asia, while parts of the Americas experience heavy rain, flooding, and outbreaks of waterborne diseases. Pacific islands all the way from Tonga to Hawaii experience more frequent storms. And valuable fish stocks move all the way around the globe following water of their preferred temperature. Many experts are warning of a super El Nino this time around. We have this enormous heat in the subsurface that is propagating eastward, and it's just about to come to the surface, says Axel Timmerman of the University of Hawaii in Honolulu. I looked at the current situation and I thought, oh my dear. Timmerman says we should be preparing clearing rivers of debris in flood-prone areas and storing water in drought-prone areas. There are lots of win-win things you can do, he says. He has already installed hurricane clips on his roof, as El Nino also increases the chances of hurricanes making landfall on Hawaii. And on the medical front, measles is often painted as a trivial disease by the anti-vaccination movement. It is not. It kills or causes brain damage in 2 or 3 out of 1,000 cases, even in wealthy countries. And here's another reason it isn't trivial. Having measles destroys your immunity to other diseases, and some of those are far more deadly. The upshot? Getting your child vaccinated will protect them from much more than just measles. Some 650 children a year used to die from measles in the U.S. When mass vaccination came in after 1960, measles deaths plummeted. But oddly, so did childhood deaths from infectious disease generally in every country where the measles vaccine was introduced. This has been a major mystery in public health. The vaccine was supposed to protect you from measles and nothing else. The measles virus is known to kill the white blood cells that have a memory of past infections and so give you immunity to them. It had been thought that those cells quickly bounce back because the new ones appear a week or 2 after someone gets the measles. However, recent work in monkeys that have recovered from measles shows that these new memory cells only remember measles itself. The monkeys lose cells that recognize other infections. If humans get similar immune amnesia after measles, childhood deaths from infectious diseases should rise and fall depending on how many had measles recently and how long the effect lasts, reasoned Michael Mina of Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. And it looks as if they do. Mina and his colleagues used a complex statistical model to analyze child mortality records from the US, UK, and Denmark in the decades before and after measles vaccination began. They found that infectious disease deaths did rise and fall depending on measles cases. In all three places, the timing of this surge exactly matched what would be expected if immune amnesia after measles lasted an average of 27 months. The biggest killer was pneumonia, followed by diarrheal diseases and meningitis. The effect was so large that in any given year, the number of children who died of infectious disease was clearly linked to how many measles cases there had been 2 or 3 years previously. When measles was common, the team calculates it was implicated in about half of all childhood deaths from infectious disease. So why did the immune amnesia last so long? Well, when children are very young, their immune systems learn to remember and attack the pathogens they come across in their environment. The data from all three countries that Mina's team looked at showed that infections in toddlers started falling between ages 2 and 3, suggesting that it takes this long for them to become immune to enough pathogens to stay largely well. This is so close to the duration of immune amnesia after measles, says Mina, that it suggests that measles resets child's immunity to that of a newborn. Then they have to be exposed to all those germs again in order to reacquire a level of immunity that would drive mortality rates down again. If measles can wipe out a child's naturally acquired immunity, then it implies that any immunity gained by being vaccinated would be wiped out too. There's no reason to think that it doesn't kill vaccine-induced memory cells as well, says Mina. The researchers want to study children who have had measles to see if they retain any immunity from previous vaccinations. And the study goes on. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcat School Update. It was Superintendent's Forum time again in the Oxford School District, only this time with a new superintendent. Tim Throne took the helm and fielded a laundry list of questions ranging from the International Academy to budget issues. The questions were posed by the Team 20 organization, a group of citizens concerned about the direction of the district. Throne emphasized what he thinks is paramount right now.
With everything that's going on, somehow, some way, this district has to keep its focus on kids and student learning, student achievement. We have had discipline issues at the middle school. We have had budgetary issues that we're trying to deal with. We are in the midst of negotiations. We are trying to change healthcare and how healthcare is provided in this district that has never been done before. A lot of scary topics, a lot of things that make our employees anxious, which makes our parents anxious, which makes our students anxious. And so I guess I'm hoping to bring to the table maybe some calm in the middle of the storm.
You can view the forum in its entirety on this station. Auto tech teacher Dan Balsley and his kids came back from the AAA Ford competition last week. The news wasn't quite what it was last year. The boys ended up in 6th place out of 10 teams due to an unexpected parts problem. Dan tells us more.
So my guys are off to a good start, and in the first 7 minutes have already found 3 of these bugs. It turns out there were 7 of them this year. By about 15 minutes they'd found 4 of them, so they're making good progress. And then from the stands where I'm watching, I could see the tempo change a little bit and things slowed down, and the guys looked a little bit more discouraged. And I found out later on that a part broke and they weren't able to replace that part, so that kind of changed the outcome of the competition. We weren't able to win the competition with a broken part, and there were no replacement parts for this. So we ended up in 6th place, and they still got scholarship offers from a number of different schools.
Next up is the Mites competition. More scholarship opportunities there. Dan tells us what's going on.
And so this year I'm taking 4 different boys, and that's down in Canton, Michigan. And they're going to be evaluated in a number of different areas, from brakes to suspension and scan diagnostics and electrical troubleshooting.
Will there be some scholarship opportunities there as well?
Yes.
We should have more on that next week. Our Business Professionals of America, otherwise known as BPA, are back from Anaheim, California now, and they didn't return empty-handed. The broadcast news production team came back with a third-place trophy. Team member Aiden Scheiber tells us about it.
We had to create a 3-minute newscast, or just different things happening around our school. Then we had to create a presentation and present in front of the judges within 8 minutes.
Now this was out in California, wasn't it?
Yep, Anaheim.
Okay, so you didn't know what you had to do ahead of time, right? I mean, before you got there.
Well, we kind of had a good idea of what we had to do from states and regionals, but going into like the final competition, which was we had to create a 1-minute newscast within a 3-hour period of time, that's something that we did not know what to do with.
Okay, and who are the guys that you were with on your team there who did that?
Within my team was Harrison Lavins, Bree Martinez, Alicia Kuliowski, and myself.
And what place did you come out in?
We placed 3rd in the nation for the 2nd year in a row.
While there, Aiden earned an industry certification as an Adobe Certified Associate, as did Stephen Reynolds as a Microsoft Technology Associate, Software Development Fundamentals. Way to go, guys. That's the Oxford School Update for this week. Dave Kenny and Elgin Nichols are up next. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
Everywhere you turn in Oxford is a new opportunity for fun. From the sandy beaches of Stony Lake and Scripter to the many different sporting events and other recreational activities held at Seymour Lake Park. For those who like long walks, you can find yourself exploring the Pollyant Trail throughout Oxford's more scenic areas. And if it's seclusion you like, look no farther than Oakwood Lake Park. So bring your family or friends out to see one of our beautiful parks today.
Welcome back to Oxford News This Week. Time for Oxford Sports. The Oxford Wildcats 13U team recently won the Clarkston Classic tournament. The boys played against Lake Orion in the championship game. They picked up that victory 12-6, and they brought home the trophy. The Oxford team is the same team that went to regionals last year at Rockford, Illinois, and took 2nd place in the state, 3rd place in the Midwest. The Clarkston tournament was a great way to get the season started. And ladies softball, Sherilyn Bannis went 4 for 4 at the plate as the Oxford Wildcats varsity took home a 6-1 victory over West Bloomfield in 7 innings of play at West Bloomfield. Thursday, she doubled in the 3rd inning, singled in the 1st, 5th, and 6th inning. Hannah Bashan, 8 strikeouts were enough to push the Oxford Wildcat varsity past West Bloomfield, and Oxford Wildcat varsity piled on 3 more runs in the bottom of the 5th. Lauren Donaldson doubled, bringing home Medell and Bannis to start that inning. Oxford record, this is unbelievable. I'll say it, unbelievable. 23-1. 23-3-1. Try to get cute there. The Wildcats won a thrilling game against Stony Creek in 9 innings of play. This is boys baseball, 2-1. Both teams scored on a run in the 2nd inning. The Wildcats had great opportunities to end the game in the 8th with bases loaded and no outs. The Cougars turned in a crippling 1, 2, and 3 double play and then eventually got a ground ball to get out of the inning. The Wildcats found themselves in the same situation in the 9th. Senior Scott Studenraw, I hope I said that right, came to the plate and bases loaded. He drove in the ball to the fence, plating Devin Davenport. Oxford was led offensively by Max Blackburn, going 2 for 3 against Scott, who drove in the game-winning run. James Rogers earned a no-decision throw, 8 innings, only allowing 2 hits, collecting 6 strikeouts. Anthony Gunn, the gun, came in to throw in the 9th, striking out 2 and earning the win. Jumping to the lacrosse field, when you're playing a quality opponent, slow starts are usually a sign of recipes for disaster and demise. Oxford started slower than usual against neighboring Lake Orion Tuesday night. However, recovered too close to the gap and late in the game, but didn't really have enough to overcome the rocky beginning. The Dragons beat the Wildcats 11-8 in the OAA contest. The Wildcats started slow, caught up by halftime to a narrow margin of 4-3, but the rough start in the second half gave Lake Orion just enough cushion to win their 6th game of the season. Well, the Oxford Athletic Department, they've got to be proud. 164 senior letter winners from the class of 2015 were honored at the awards that took place on May 3rd at 5 p.m. at the Oxford High School Performing Arts Center. The event was sponsored by the Oxford Wildcat Athletic Booster Club. They returned to a dinner format after the awards. Senior Athletes of the Year, Scott Studenrau and Jessica Murphy, the Oxford Wildcat Athletic Booster Club, and head coaches provided plaques for every senior student athlete and award winner. What a great night for everybody. Congratulations. Just a reminder, the programs you see here on OCTV can be easily viewed online on your personal device. Go to OCCTV.org, hit Programs tab or the YouTube tab, and you can watch them on your iPad, phone, or computer, wherever you choose to. Or if you want to watch them traditionally, like I do every Saturday and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Charter and ATT. Check it out. Again, our website, OCCTV.org. Catch all the programs there. Jumping to Indianapolis, Scott Dixon thought the numbers might have been a mistake. He was sitting on the Indianapolis 500 pole with one of the strangest qualifying days in Indy history. Dixon overcame the rule changes, a revised schedule change, and a threat of rain. Team Penske, of course, for the four-car lineup for the Indy pole with an average lap of 226.76 miles an hour. That is fast. I think that's how fast Terry Stiles drives here to the station. Will Power and Simon Pagenaud, who drove Roger Penske, will start second and third on May 24th. Their speed 226.35 and 226.145. Penske won 8 straight poles. Look for the tradition, though, however, to be broken this coming up Sunday. Jim Neighbors normally sings Back Home in Indiana, but last year was his last year. Check out the a cappella group, Straight No Chaser. Their stuff's on YouTube. I think they're going to do justification to it. And coming up this week, the retirement of a TV icon, and I only mention this, David Letterman, a shameless plug here. I had a chance to interview David for a radio station back in the 80s. At the end, I asked his personal assistant for an autograph, not thinking anything would arrive. Days later, this came to my office again. I was very smitten, very nervous, and it was a very cool David Letterman who actually let me interview him. Congratulations on your retirement, and I know we'll see you at the IndyCar races. That's going to wrap it in sports. Have yourself a good one. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves till we do it all again. I'll see you next week, everyone.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, when the Harris poll asked Americans if they trust a car to drive itself, most said, too dangerous. When told they could buy a car that now takes control of the brakes and steering wheel to avoid a collision, most said, bring it on. The survey conducted for Autotrader.com is a reminder that game-changing technology is less scary when it comes piecemeal, seeping into daily life until it becomes the new normal. Automakers are betting gradualism will ease consumers' anxieties about ceding control of a speeding automobile to sensors, cameras, and chips. Gadgetry that 5 years ago seemed like science fiction is quietly becoming commonplace in a range of models from luxury Audis to middle-market Subarus. And it's accelerating quickly. As soon as this summer, car buyers will be able to purchase models with autopilot features that allow drivers to take their hands off the wheel, feet off the pedals, and navigate the roads automatically. Consumers' concerns include things like the privacy of their whereabouts and whether cars can be hacked. That's why automakers are careful to make sure the arrival of a self-steering car is a revolution by evolution. And at Dodge, ordering has opened for the 2016 Dodge Viper ACR, a track version of the two-seat sports coupe that comes equipped with a much stiffer chassis and giant carbon fiber rear wing and other aerodynamic features to improve downforce. The brand last offered a Viper ACR, which stands for American Club Racer, in 2010 prior to the Viper's redesign in 2012. The street-legal race car features the same 640 horsepower, 8.4-liter V10 engine and 6-speed manual transmission as other Vipers, but the changes to the chassis and suspension to improve its on-track performance. This is the fastest street-legal Viper track car that we have ever built, Tim Kuniskis, head of the Dodge brand and its SRT Performance Group, said of the 2016 Viper ACR. During testing, Dodge said that the ACR with its improved dynamic package delivered nearly 1 ton of downforce that allowed the car to reach a top speed of 177 miles per hour and not in Oxford. Pricing for the 2016 Viper ACR was not released. It'll go into production in the third quarter of 2015. On the recall front, General Motors is recalling about 469,000 2011-12 Chevrolet Malibus for a steel cable connected to the seatbelt that can weaken and break, along with nearly 53,000 2015 Chevrolet Colorado and GMC Canyon pickups for faulty seat frame adjustment hooks. The flexible steel cable that connects the seatbelt to the vehicle in the affected Malibus can wear and separate over time as passengers make seat adjustments, the automaker said in an email statement. Seat frame attachments in the 2015 Colorado and Canyon may not have been properly attached to the vehicle during assembly, GM said in an email statement. If the part was improperly attached, the front of the seat may not remain secured to the vehicle in the event of a crash. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.